So in this lesson we're going to discuss mamnu'un min as-sarfi. Mamnu'un min as-sarfi, which means prevented from change. As-sarfi means change or alteration, and it relates to the final letter of an ismun. So as we just demonstrated that a normal ismun such as kitab can be kitabun in its marfu'un state, kitaban in the mansubun state, and kitabin in the majrurun state. Meaning it can become all three states and it can take a tanween. However, as we mentioned, the principle likulli qa'idatin istithna, that every rule has an exception. And this is a very important exception to that general principle. So what do we mean by that? If we take a normal name that we read frequently in Al-Quran, for example, the name Ibrahim. Right, Ibrahim. So Rajal, what do we notice about the end on Ibrahim?
Just one dhamma.
There's just one dhamma. And the reason why I've only written it with one dhamma and not two is because this name Ibrahim cannot be written with two dhamma or tanweenu dhammin. It cannot. It can only ever be written either with one dhamma, Ibrahimu, or with one fatha, so it becomes Ibrahim. Right? So it can only ever be Ibrahimu or Ibrahima. Right? So now it's Ibrahima. And because it is Ibrahima, Ya Rajanu, what state is it in? Ya Rajanu, what state is it in?
Mansubun.
Mansubun, good. It's a mansubun. And how do we know it's a mansubun? Because of
The fatha.
the fatha. The fatha is the indicator that it is mansubun. Right? Similarly, if we were to erase this and write it Ibrahimu, now akhlaq, what state is Ibrahim in? Marfu'un, with the dhamma. Right? So we can see it in the marfu'un state with the dhamma, Ibrahimu. We've seen it in the mansubun state with the fatha, Ibrahima. So which one is missing? The majrurun, good. MashaAllah, Rajan, you've learned those three states. That's good. Right. Which means that this type of ismun, this type of noun that falls under this category of mamnu' min as-sarfi, what it means is that when that ismun is going to be in the normal marfu'un state, it's going to be represented by a dhamma. And when that ismun is going to be in the mansubun state, it's going to be represented by a fatha. Right? And when it is going to be in the majrurun state ordinarily, then it's going to be represented by a fatha. And that's important.
Sorry, can you say that again?
When it's I'm going to demonstrate by example, right? So to repeat, when Ibrahimu is going to be in the marfu'un state, it's going to be represented by a single dhamma. When Ibrahim is going to be in the mansubun state, it's going to be represented by a single fatha. And when Ibrahim is going to be in the majrurun state, it's going to be represented by not a kasrah. It's going to be represented by a fatha. And that's important. That is why this particular name is considered to be mamnu' min as-sarfi. It doesn't assume in its writing or its pronunciation all three states. And this is important. Right? Why? Because Out of all the names of the prophets, alayhim salam, mentioned in Al-Quran, all of them except 6 are mamnu' min as-sarfi. Right? So what does that mean? All of them except 6. So the 6 are Muhammadun, wa Shu'aybun, wa Hudun, wa Lutun, wa Nuhun, and Salihun. Right? So for example, let's take Salih, that name, alayhim as-salam. So Salihun, as I've written it here, who was sent to the people of Thamud. This takes tanweenu dammin, you can see it, right? So this changes ordinarily like any normal ism, right? So it can become Salihun, Salihan, and Salihin. But all of the others, right? Musa, well, that's different, but Ibrahim, and Idris and Adam alayhim as-salam, they are like Ibrahim. And the reason why they're considered to be mamnu min as-sarf, because as in Arabic the term is al-alam wal-ajamiyu, they're considered to be non-Arabic names, they're foreign names. Okay, and whenever you have a foreign name which has been mentioned in its Arabic form in Al-Quran, or indeed outside Al-Quran, then it's going to be mamnu min as-sarfi. So to illustrate therefore the difference between Ibrahim and Salihun, or Ibrahimu and Salihun, right? If we want to say that Ibrahimu, or Ibrahim is tall, we would say Ibrahimu. Don't say table, Muhammad. Tawilun. Right? Ibrahimu. Tawilun. Ibrahimu. Tawilun. Right? If we wanted to say Salih is tall, we say Salihun Tawilun. Okay? Note the difference. That with Ibrahim, it's still Ibrahimu. With Salih, it's Salihun. But Tawilun and Tawilun is the same. So this type of sentence, Ibrahimu Tawilun and Salihun Tawilun, what type of sentence is it? Ya Rajan. Good, mashallah. You're on form today. It's a Jumlatul Ismiyyah. And how do we know it's al-Jumlatul Ismiyyah to ya akhlaqu?
Oh, that's a bit hard.
No, that's not hard.
The Ibrahim one is a bit, because it doesn't have tanween at the end and it doesn't have alif lam and stuff.
That's right, but
Salih one is easy, obviously.
But you're right, because normally, remember, it's good that you remember that normally we said that in al-Jumlatul Ismiyyah, al-Mubtada'u is usually, it's an ismun which is ma'rifatun, which is definite with al. Al. Here there's no al, is there? But, and this is important to remember, real names are considered to be definite. Right? So, this is al-Jumlatul Ismiyatu because it begins with an ismun. Right? So, Ibrahimu and Salihun is al-Mubtada'u, and it ends with al-Khabaru, which in this case is Tawilun. So, Ibrahim is tall and Salih is tall. That is al-Jumlatul Ismiyah. Right? Clear? So, what state is the al-Mubtada'u in these two instances, ya akhlaq?
Mansubun.
Marfu'un. Marfu'un, right? You make marfu'un. Right. So as you can see in the marfu'un state, this takes a single dhammah and this takes tanweenu dhammin. Right? Now, if we wanted to render or make Ibrahimu and Saleh mansubun, what would we do in order to accomplish that, Ya Rajanu?
Change it to the fatha.
Yeah, we know that, but we're not just going to change this to a fatha, are we, like this? Because that would be grammatically incorrect. But so now we need to mention something that makes it correct.
What fi'l?
A fi'lun, good. So give me an example of a fi'lun that we can add that would make Ibrahima, in this instance, a maf'ulun bihi, and therefore complete the sentence.
I only know kataba from previous lessons.
Right, kataba. Right. Well, it doesn't make sense, but we'll write it anyway, then we'll write a proper verb. Well, a verb that does make sense. So good, at least you know that if we say kataba Ibrahima, then that is a grammatically correct sentence. What does it mean? Arjan, it's your sentence.
Ibrahim read, or he read Ibrahim.
No, kataba means he wrote.
Oh, he wrote, sorry, yeah.
He wrote
Ibrahim.
Ibrahim.
Can you
Okay.
read it?
Do it wrong.
He, Ibrahim, wrote.
No, because this is mansubun. He wrote Ibrahima. Kataba Ibrahima. Okay? Clear? Remember, the essence of Arabic grammar is the way the ending is formed. And you form the ending with a fatha, therefore it's a mansubun. Therefore it must be, the meaning must be, he wrote Ibrahim. It can't be Ibrahim wrote. In order to make it Ibrahim wrote, what do we do to Ibrahim? Akhlaq. We know this. We should. Majrurun.
Make it idafa.
Make it idafa.
Yeah.
No. We don't make it idafa. How can we make it idafa when there's only one ismun in our sentence? And even if there were two, it wouldn't make the sentence mean Ibrahim wrote. We know this, or we should know it.
Oh,
We just need to change one vowel.
katiba.
No, it's far easier than that. Kataba Ibrahimu. Kataba Ibrahimu. Ibrahim wrote. What did we do? Very simply, we changed Ibrahim to be from the maf'ulun bihi to be the fa'il on the doer. Right, Arjan? We should have known this. We should have mastered this. Because now Ibrahimu is the doer. Before, like this, Ibrahima is the maf'ulun bihi. Remember, it's all in the endings. Arabic grammar is concerned with why or how and why the ending is formed. So we've gone from Kataba Ibrahima to he wrote Ibrahim to Ibrahim wrote. Right? We understand that. So let's change it back to he wrote Ibrahim. Kataba Ibrahima. So now, Ya Rajan, we want to say he wrote Saleh.
he wrote Salih. Put Kataba in front and
Kataba Salih.
Salihan.
Right. What?
Sorry, Salihan.
Salihah. So we're going to change that from tanweenu raf'in to salihah, like that. Yeah? Let a Rajan answer. Ya Rajanu, kataba salihah. Is that correct? Before it was salihun, tanweenu dammin. We have kataba Ibrahima, which is now mansubun. We have kataba salihan, or rather no, we have kataba salihah. So Ya Rajanu, what's wrong with salihah? What should it be?
Don't know what to say.
No, you do know. Before it was salihun.
Salihan.
Good. There's no reason why you should drop a fatha, and the whole purpose of writing salihan, that ismun, and this one is to illustrate the difference between them. That this has tanweenun, 2 markings, whereas this only has 1. This has 1 because it is mamnu'un min as-sarfi, whereas salihan isn't. Salihan, as we said, is one of the 6 names in Al-Quran of the Al-Anbiya'u alayhim as-salam that is not mamnu' min as-sarfi. Right? So that's the mansuban state. But, as we said, if we select a more appropriate fi'lun, such as I saw. I saw. How do we say I saw? Ra'aytu. Ra'aytu Ibrahima. What did I write that? That's ra'aytu. It should be ra'aytu salihan. Ra'aytu means I saw. Right? How do we say you saw? Single male. Ra'ayta. We should know this. Really, we need to know that. How to change the fi'lan, the verb, so we can use all different forms. So, Ra'aytu Ibrahim, Ra'aytu Salihan. Now it's in the mansuban state. So, the last state is which, Ya Muhammad? The majrurun. So we want to say Ibrahim mi or Salih hin. Right, Rajan, now you've got it. You didn't unnecessarily drop a kasra, did you? Salihin, Ibrahimi and Salihin. So, ya akhlaqu, what do we need to introduce here to make it grammatically correct?
Min.
Right, good. Min. Right? Min Ibrahim. Mi. Min Salihin. Except that that's not correct, is it? Because we said it can never become Ibrahimi. So what do we say? Min Ibrahim ma. Min Ibrahim ma min Salihin. Okay? Min Ibrahim min Salihin. Right?
Is that with all non-Arabic names?
Yes. Now there are other types of ismuns that are also mamnu min as-sarf. In fact, there are several other types, and we're going to mention that. But the point is, So can you see how we could say Ibrahimu, in our example Ibrahimu tawilun, and we could say Ibrahima, ra'aytu Ibrahima, but we can't say Ibrahimi. We can't say min Ibrahimi. We can only say min Ibrahima. Okay? Is that clear? We need to remember that. Now, the difference therefore between mamnu' min as-sarfi and what they call al-ismu al-munsarifu, or an ism that you can change ordinarily into the three states, is what? That mamnu' min as-sarfi, it does not take a tanweenun, doesn't. Okay? And also mamnu' min as-sarfi never becomes majrurun with a kasra. Not that we say it never becomes majrurun because Ibrahim is now majrurun. It is majrurun. It's assumed to be majrurun. It's just not majrurun with a kasra. Right? And that's important to remember. Just because we write a fatha on the end, what determines it being in that state is what they call al-awamilu, the factors that affect it and cause it to change. And min is min huruf al-jarri, right? It's from huruf al-jarri, and huruf al-jarri yajurru al-ism. It makes al-ism majrur, except that when it's mamnu' min as-sarf, it can't become majrur with a kasra. So it becomes majrur with a fatha. Right, Muhammad? Right, Urjan, Akhlaq? Now, there are several other types of names, and indeed al-asma'u nouns, that are mamnu' min as-sarfi. The other type of name, which is mamnu' min as-sarfi, there are several, but we're just going to discuss the most common, is an alamun, or a name that ends with, as I said, ta'u ta'nith or ta marbuta. For example, right. No, it was right, except it was wrong. Fatimah. Remember, we're mentioning now other types of names which are also al-asma'u nouns, because every name is a noun, that are mamnu' min as-sarfi. And Fatima is one of them. So Fatima can only ever become, Ya Rajanu, Fatima 2 or Fatimata. It can never be Fatima T or Tin. Right? So if we want to say that Fatima is tall, not a table, but is tall, Muhammad, how do we say it?
Fatima
Right, alhamdulillah. You said it. Fatima tu tawilatun. Tawilatun. Fatima tu tawilatun. Okay? And that's marfu'un. It's a jumlatul ismiyya, al-mubtada'u and al-khabar. Right. And if we want to say, Ya akhlaqu, we saw Fatima, we would say رأينا فاطمة تا فاطمة تا رأينا فاطمة تا. Okay, I'll write that so it's a bit more legible. رأينا what's better? رأينا فاطمة. But, Ya Rajanu, if wanted to say from Fatima, we would say min Fatima min Fatima. What do you mean to? How can it be min Fatima to?
Yes, it is the root.
Huh? Min is harfu jar. Harfu jar is before an ismun, therefore it becomes min Fatima. Sorry. What would it be ordinarily? A normal ismun? It would normally be T. But it's mamnu min as-sarf, so it stays
With the kasra.
with a what?
With the fatha.
A fatha min Fatimata. Right? So, other names like Hamzatu, right? Hamzatu, Muawiyatu, Talhatu. All of these names that you've read, some of them, the companions, radiyallahu anhum, Fatimatu, the daughter, radiyallahu anha, of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Aisha too, the wife of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, they're all mamnu min as-sarfi. Okay? And then there are other names like Maryamu. Okay? Isa ibn Maryam. That Maryamu there is mamnu min as-sarfi because its origin is not Arabic. Okay? But that's the general principle, that when it's a non-Arab name, okay, but you've got the Arabic form, then it will be mamnu min as-sarfi. Okay? But then there are other examples that are Arabic, that like Umaru, right? Al-Khalifat Umar ibn al-Khattab, or Ma'ru is also mamnu min as-sarfi. Okay? So those are names. But then there are also a whole series of normal al-asma'u nouns that are also mamnu min as-sarfi. Right? So for example, right, this is on the pattern of al-fi'lu. Al-fi'lu. So for example, the name Ahmadu. Ahmadu. That name, Ahmadu, is mamnu min as-sarfi. It can only ever be Ahmadu and Ahmada. Right? On that same pattern are the colours, for example. The colours, black is aswadu. Right? Red is ahmaru. White is abiyadu. And so on and so forth. All of them on that pattern will be mamnu min as-sarfi. Right? And it's not something to be particularly worried about really, because even though we've mentioned numerous examples, they're all grouped together according to certain forms or patterns. Right? So once you recognize that an ism belongs to that particular pattern, then all of the other asma'un which are of the same pattern are also mamnu min as-sarf. For example, Right? The singular of mosque is masjidun. Okay? The plural of masjidun is masajidu. Okay? So, anything on that pattern of masjidun, the plural is going to be on this pattern, masajidu, and it's going to be mamnu min as-sarfi. So for example, okay, the plural of maktabun. Okay, maktabun, desk. Makatibu. Okay, makatibu. Okay, desks. Makatibu is on that pattern. Masna'un is factory. Okay, so the plural of masna'un is masani'u, and it is on that pattern. Right? Clear? Maqbaratun, graveyard. Maqbaratun, a graveyard, the plural is maqabiru, on that pattern. So you become accustomed to them. Right? Another pattern which is very common is what they say, those that end in alif al-mamdudah, right? Such as faqirun. Faqirun means a poor person, right? What's the plural of faqirun? Fuqara'u. Okay, fuqara'u is the plural of faqirun, and it's a mamnu min as-sarfi. It can only ever be fuqara'u or fuqara'a. Okay. Similarly, da'ifun. What does da'ifun mean? Weak. The plural of da'ifun is du'afa'u. Du'afa'u, on that pattern. So it is mamnu' min as-sarfi. The opposite of da'ifun is qawiyun. Qawiyun, strong. And the plural of qawiyun is aqwiya'u. Aqwiya'u. And it's on that pattern. Right? And there are others. But, insha'Allah ta'ala, as you encounter them, you will recognize them. The other common one is alif al-maqsura. Such as you'll find that which jurha. Jurha. This is called alif al-maqsura. Jurha means wounded. Okay? So, when you encounter a particular ismun which is mamnu min as-sarfi, remember it. Then any other ismun that matches it in the pattern, then you know that that too is mamnu min as-sarfi. Okay?